Good afternoon and welcome, everybody. This would be the Jeff Cameron Show right here on 93.3 Real Talk Radio, Warchant TV. Pre-recorded version today. Your boy is skipping out of town, flying down to Miami to catch a Clippers-Miami Heat game. It's more about my son than it is anything else. He, as I've told you before, loves the NBA these days, and he loves the Clippers because of Terrence Mann. And now, thanks to JetBlue, I feel like I should be a spokesman. I can get down there in no time and for not that much money, and so we're going to do that. But I wanted the content to come out today, and Tom and I gathered here this morning in order to do that. So what you're watching, if you're on Warchant TV, and what you're listening to if you're driving about throughout town today on 93.3 Real Talk Radio is pre-recorded, but it's same day. Tom, weird day yesterday, man. We did the show, and I was grateful that we were on the air as we got the confirmation that Mike Martin had passed away. It's weird to do a show in those moments. I thought it was great to be able to get Eric Llewellyn on and kind of hear his thoughts, but also it was nice to come home and sit there and chat it up with Corey and Ira about our remembrances of the man, if you will. But, you know, after that, I went to a basketball game, my son's final game of the year. And I was thinking about sports. I was thinking about connection in sports. I was talking about relationships in sports, and I was thinking about a lot of things. And you know, I told you this morning that I was perusing the vaults of NoleFan.org. I don't know who's in charge of that site or who does it, but you can dig down deep into box scores from games that you went to when you were, or that I went to in the early '90s, and when I did it, it was a veritable who's who. And, you know, I'm sitting there looking at box scores. I can remember specific afternoons. I remember details of games. There was one I was looking at. My buddy, Nick DeLuzio was the, Mr. DeLuzio was the umpire, and he has since passed away. And of course, Mike Martin passing away yesterday. And we were talking, Lee Bowen, who gave me my first job, all connected to baseball. He's passed away. Steve Ellis, Ira told a story about Steve Ellis. Steve Ellis was a writer for the Democrat that, you know, the same week I met Mike Martin and got a chance to go to a game and cover a game. Steve kind of welcomed me into the press box. And I remember thinking, how cool is this? I had read Steve's columns and his pieces in the Democrat for years. Well, he's since passed away. And I don't say that to be morbid or sad or anything like that, but yesterday gave me a chance to think about those people and their lives and how I was connected to them and the relationship and the things you build through sport and how fortunate we are to work in sports. And in fact, yesterday was not sad. In a lot of ways, it was uplifting for me to think about those people and the impact they had on this community, on Tallahassee, on Florida State University, on the students, the fans, and the people that went through the doors there at Hauser, through the gates at Hauser. I remember for the longest time, and I still think this is somewhat true. My best days, the moments that I have, probably my most fond memories of Florida State, isn't a national championship game, isn't a rivalry game against Miami. It's a leisurely afternoon sitting with buddies of mine at Dick Hauser Stadium with a slight breeze and blue skies and watching baseball on a Tuesday or a Wednesday and just talking about our day and, you know, maybe in class or what we had to do after the game, or if we had nothing to do, did we want to go to Wings and Rings on Pensacola Street and have some beers? You could get a pitcher for $5 or less and watch other sports. And we would just kind of map out our weeks and that. And it was all centered around Florida State baseball. And it was always something, you know, I don't know if I thought about it at the time, but going into that stadium, you know, in the 90s, you know, I'm talking about 91, 92, 93, 94, the entirety of the 90s, frankly. Ira brought it up yesterday when we were talking, and he was saying that, man, the magic that existed at Florida State in the 90s is maybe when you're immersed in it, you can't recognize it, but you sure can now in retrospect, because the football team was dominant and was good every year. I mean, the bottom line was to talk about football was to talk about a run at a national championship. Every single season of the 90s, that held true. There wasn't a year that went by where in preseason you weren't thinking that they could win the national title. And simultaneous to that, Florida State baseball was one of the biggest things going. It was a dominant program, and the quest to win the national championship was all that remained. I mean, the individual awards, the superstar pitchers and players, they had been mounting. Mike Martin had been building this since he had come on board as the head coach in 1980. And now you just assumed the same type of things about baseball that you did with football, which was that maybe this is the one, maybe this is the team, maybe, that kid JD Drew will lead the way. Maybe Doug Minkiewicz will lead the way. Maybe Jeremy Morris will lead the way. Maybe, just like you, so many great players. And that obviously continued into the 2000s. But the 90s, I mean, there's a slew of great teams and All-Americans. And I certainly did take for granted at that time to be able to walk in and sit with other students and just kind of take in an elite product and a fun atmosphere. And anyhow, I did reminisce a lot about that yesterday on the passing of Mike Martin. I did think long and hard about how, wow, man, I don't know that there will ever be another era. I know that everybody gets old and nostalgic at some point, and they think that their time was the best time. You'll hear that. You hear old men. My dad will talk about how great it was basically growing up in the 60s, right? And I'll think, well, probably for music, he might be right. He might be right that there'll never be another era like there was. I'm a music aficionado, at least in terms of rock and roll and the melding of so many different styles. He may be right. There may never be another 60s for music. The transformation from the stiff 50s to what happened in the 60s. That may be true for Florida State. They may have great achievements moving forward, and they may end up winning more national championships. My hunch is they will in football. They may finally win one in baseball. I don't know in my lifetime if they'll ever win a national championship in basketball, but I would say that that era, that stretch of 10 years from 1990 to 2000, I don't know that can be replicated. Go back and look at those records and look at those teams. It's unimaginable now. It just is. It's amazing to think about.
For me, I had an inverted experience yesterday. I was thinking about mostly the good times when we were on the air. The moments that behind the scenes I was so privileged to see, the laughs I had. Because Mike Martin was a funny man. It's same thing as Bobby Bowden. Like, they had comedic timing to them. The both of them did. Like, they just say stuff and you'd be like, oh my God. And it's not inappropriate. It's just well timed. It was there was a video circulating yesterday of him talking about, I'm faking it through this press conference. I hate losing to Florida. I want to tear things apart. I'm just faking it right now. And like, yeah, that's very on point. And there were so many of those pressers that you almost lose count, and then you realize how special they were in that time. But where I got sad was Florida State baseball has been a constant, and figures like Mike Martin are constants until they're not.
Yeah.
But you think that they're always going to be there. You think that they're always going to be at the pinnacle of the sport. And it's like you can set your watch by Mike Martin winning 40 games. You could. And for a period, 50, for a period in there. And when I was a kid, growing up in Clearwater, there were like a few sports that I really enjoyed, like as a little kid. And baseball was it, but it was like the Mets on WWOR, which we still got.
Yep.
And then it was Sunshine Network on the weekends, because Sunshine Network on the weekends had Florida State baseball. And Deckerhoff would pretty much usually be on the call, but whoever it was on the call. The games against Miami, the games against Florida, Like, I remember that as a child, and Mike Martin was a constant because then they go to the College World Series and ESPN televised it when it went from ABC to ESPN, so you could catch those early games. And the de Blasi family, Mr. Phil de Blasi was my science and math teacher, very good teacher. But his two sons played for Mike Martin, and Mike was the older son, Matt was the younger son. Well, Mike would come down from Tallahassee during my middle school baseball seasons and give us pointers. And it struck me yesterday that maybe, just maybe, he shared an insight with me that Mike Martin had shared with him. And that connection on that level. Then I cover the sport years later, in between Buster Posey's there as I'm a student, and I'm watching Buster do unimaginable things. The win over Ohio State, where they're still scoring runs. Like, I don't know, Mike Martin was just a constant in my life well before I ever attended the university. And one of the first things I ever did when I got to campus, two things where I really felt like a Nole for the first time. One was my first night when my mom and my sisters stopped packing my stuff. I was like, all right, get out of here. I just want to be. I want to be in this. And I walked over to the Civic Center. I walked over to the TLC and Florida State closed out a win over Virginia Tech. This is January of 2006, 18 years ago. Good Lord. And then the next thing I did was something that you did. The stadiums used to be open for students, man. I went to Hauser. I was waiting for a class that I had in UCD over in the stadium, and I just sat in the stands. Maybe it was section B, but it was first base line. And my notebook was open, and I was going through stuff, and nobody was there. It was just a cool breeze, and it was January. And Mike Martin was the constant there, too.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm very sad in the beginning because, it was a prolonged, it was even put out there, like the public understood towards the end that Mike Martin was in hospice, and, this had been a bit of a rough final chapter. So I felt relief for everybody involved, and my heart still goes out to the family, and there's going to be tough days, but after the relief, it hit hard. It hits hard, man. That program, that man had been a presence for my lifetime, and yours. You're older than me. He's a constant for you even more. And some folks that are in their 60s, he's a constant for them, or maybe even their early 70s. It's just a remarkable person.
There was a stretch of time, and there are people who listen to this show who will know that I'm referencing them. And I'm thinking about them now, that when I would go to every single game. There's probably about I would say 7 to 10 year period where I went to every single home game. And this is before I was in sports talk radio, and then kind of it crossed. It went from I was a counselor working at ACHS and dating somebody who was getting her PhD. She was a huge baseball fan. I've referenced her many times, and we're still friends. And it's all, she's married and happy and lives in Texas. And she may be listening now. And those were good times. Like, we would go and sit together and keep score. And there was this little group. This is before the stadium expanded, Tom. It didn't have the seats all the way down the first baseline that you see now. That wasn't always there. And we would sit right there near section B. And there was a group, Pam and these other folks that just would all be around us. And we would go to every game, and we'd have conversations about players and about Coach Martin and about the team. And it was like a little family. And there are so many people that feel that way, that have had seats over there, to the point where, Tom, let's be honest, I've made fun of that fact, right? I've made fun of the fact that it's an old crowd. It's an old crowd. There are people that have been season ticket holders over there, and really you got to thank Mike Martin for a lot of that, building the tradition, building the winning ways for so long. But I would see those people. I'd see the old timers come in, and they had been going to games since his first year. And now it's 17 years later, and they're still going. And then it's 25 years later, and they're still going. And I remember them at one time youthful, and now not so much. I'm sure people think of me the same way if they've been around for the ride. I was certainly a lot skinnier than I am now, had some hair, and went to those games. And those are just the best times. I mean, you are hard pressed. Now, first of all, you and I have a bent towards baseball, the pacing of the game and what it allows for you to do. And what baseball allows for you to do for people that don't share that passion is have time to talk. Baseball is a sport that gives you a break. Baseball is paced in such a way where you can be quiet and not say a word to one another for 45 minutes. You're both just observing together. Each pitch, the rhythm of the game is infused. And then somewhere along the way, somebody breaks the silence and, hey, are you going to go back home again next month and, see your brother? You're going to, whatever it is. And the conversation happens between pitches. And I think that creates bonds in a way that certain other sports can't. Now, football is gladiatorial and violent and energetic, and that also has a vibe to it that can't be recreated. But it's different. It's very different than baseball.
Yeah.
And I feel like a lot of those connections, I think a lot of people reflected quite a bit yesterday. We did know that Mike Martin was ill. We did know that this day was coming. But on the day that it finally happens, I think you go down memory lane. I hope for a lot of people that they were able to do that in the same way that you're talking about, in the same way that I'm talking about now, which is that, you can mark the calendar, you can look at your life, you can talk about the years you spent the most amount of time in that stadium. For me, it was the 90s for the most part. And 99% of the time when I'm thinking of those things, I'm thinking of happy memories. I'm thinking about great days. I'm thinking about fun teams and magical moments and elite players and good people, just good people. That's what I'm thinking about. And I'm thinking about the way that felt, and it's a good thing.
Yeah, the way that baseball allows for that type of conversation. A mutual friend of ours, a sponsor, Bill, has a great setup, these days with season tickets to Hauser. They tailgate, and you've been around those lots a bunch. You could meander to section B and have a big time. You could just go to the back of a truck. There's a friend in the distance. You decide to, take an outdoor chair, just sit down, listen to music, whatever. It's just got an intimate feeling at Hauser in a way that Doak Campbell on a Saturday, that's a production. Like it is high octane adrenaline at all times. Baseball's got a rhythm to it, even down to the tailgates outside of Hauser. It's quiet. It's peaceful. The weather in Tallahassee as the season goes along, too. It's the background on my phone. It has been for years. It's sitting under the oaks. It's just I'm sitting under the oaks and I take a photo of the sky under the oaks. Like that to me is what it is. That's what life is. It's what it's about. That's why I love to golf. But our friend has a perfect setup. I won't say where, but it's he and somewhere between 2 and 4 or 5 friends every single game, standing up at the back and just talking. Yeah, there's some beers being traded as the game goes along, but you're watching the game, you're talking. That is what baseball is about. And we got to do that while watching a program win at the highest level every single year. Did they get the job done in Omaha? No. But every year that you went to games at Dick Hauser Stadium, you know how many, like the winning percentage?
Oh, it's insane.
I had the Sunday streak that went forever and a day when I was still covering the game. Like they hadn't lost in Sunday Golds in years and years and years.
Yeah.
Because that's when the depth of your weekend staff and the power of your program flexes itself is on that third day because you're that much stronger. But you just think about, like, if you went to 500 games at Hauser Stadium, and I'm sure you've probably been to more, but say you went to 500 games in your time. The winning percentage in those games? I mean, it's 80-something percent. It had to have been.
Easily, yeah. To the point where when you lost one, you were kind of surprised. I mean, when I was referencing those 90s teams, Tom, if you go back, those were the 50-win teams you're talking about. Those are 52, 55, 53, 54. It's unbelievable. And I remember J.D. Drew's debut. I remember John Ford Griffin's debut. I remember all of these players and the hype surrounding them when they got there, the excitement to see, you'd get whispers early on. And then later when I joined the media, which wasn't until 98, 99, I to hear it from the man himself was really cool. And I told that story yesterday that Lee Bowen, told me, hey, since you're going to be talking about this program on the air, I think you should meet the head coach, come with me. I've got to do my prep for the season because Lee was the play-by-play announcer, of course. And 11 would just hold court, and it was me and Lee Bowen. That's it. Sitting in a room at a desk, at a table with Mike Martin. And he didn't know me from Adam. But the very first day I met him, by the time we left there, it was as if we were old friends. He would take my calls from that point forward. You got to remember, Tom, it's pretty much pre-internet and pre all that stuff. And so like the information you would gather from the head man himself was vital. We weren't so connected all the time. This wasn't a thing. You didn't have walking computers in your pocket. So getting information and having access to certain information was very important. And he would tell me, hey, here's what I think about, our situation at third. This is what I'm going to look at doing. And I was always grateful for that. But I thought about that a lot too yesterday. Like, oh man, I don't know how many coaches. I just don't know how many coaches would do that. At any era, just sit there for an hour and a half, talk to you on a weekday where, you're prepping for the season and all that, and go over position by position. He did that for a long time. Years later, it got easier because we all were working on computers every day, and you had them at your house, and you had, all that stuff. I used to have to go into work to, my broke ass couldn't afford a computer, Tom.
Go to the library and go to work on the word processor. Yeah. That's the one thing about, I think as we get older, even still, maybe 20 years from now, and look back on the era like Mike Martin coached in, it was always so weird too, college coach versus manager. But the amount of management that you would have to do, the amount of coaching that you would have to do, I think when we get to about 2040 or 2045 and we're breaking down sports, people are going to marvel at successes like Mike Martin's, because you didn't have the answers. Like, you've got a lot of answers to the test now with analytics.
Yeah, analytics and statistics tell you a lot. Yeah.
It's akin to, you love this game, blackjack, bringing that card with you of what to do, putting it on the felt, and then playing. But you've got the card there to reference. That is modern day baseball. That is modern day. There is a little bit of feel, but there's a lot of that card going on. There's a lot of that. And what Mike Martin was able to accomplish without the card, he had to have it in here, is remarkable. People are going to call that 10, 15 years from now the era where managers had to fly by the seat of their pants. In a way, they were flying blind, and they just had to have a feel for it. And he had a feel for it at such a ridiculous clip that it's something that won't be duplicated. It can't be. There's too many analytics to get in the way. I'm not saying they're not a good thing. I'm just saying that the instinct that you have to have over that many decades of success, it's unmistakably great.
Well, I think there's a tacit knowledge and understanding of situations that is built up over the years. And when you lose veterans of the game, stewards of the game, people that were in the game for 60 years, 65 years, I had the good fortune of talking to Jack McKeon down in South Florida, Jupiter, where the Marlins were training. And I've told you this story. I took a picture. I'm just sitting there with Jack McKeon. He's smoking a cigar, and we're drinking a beer together and just talking because my buddy Matt, got me into the offices where the Marlins crew is for spring training. And then you walk out of those offices onto a back deck, and you're overlooking the field. So you're in straightaway center. And McKeon was still coming around the program. Why do I bring this up? Well, Jack McKeon was friends with people that played with Jackie Robinson.
Yeah.
And knew people. He knew Branch Rickey. So talking baseball with him was insane because I could see him go through the Rolodex of his mind and just tell you situations, second and third, and he would just talk. I was trying to think of so many questions. And I was trying to figure out, oh my God, Jack McKeon was with the Cardinals. He was with this team. He was with this team. How many teams? Who could I ask him? What was his first year? Oh, okay, that was 1962. All right, what do I remember from what I've read, because I wasn't alive, about what happened in these seasons so that I can ask this man these questions, and baseball people seem to have that, right? They know, and they had to have it. And at some time, they just figured out, oh, well, this matchup is not good for him. He's got this kind of a swing. He's a low ball hitter. That was all here, to your point. And so Mike Martin had that in the college game.
Mm-hmm.
He had to build that over time and had to, this is not a good matchup for him. The numbers he didn't have access to. He didn't know. Well, you're right, coach. In his 27 at bats so far in his young career against lefties,
Right.
he's 2 for 20, but he knew, he's like, yeah, this isn't a good match.
Based upon the swing, he's like, man, he's on that. I don't like that. First of all, I got to get my outfield shifted over this way because if we miss our spot, that's in the alley. So let's take that away from him, and let's not throw that pitch again. If let's walk him. If we're But that is the constant calculation that has to be on the fly instead of that's part of your prep that you did 9 o'clock that morning because you have readouts on the player.
Oh, it's amazing what they have now. It is. It's true. Yeah, you walk in and it's already decided for you. And bottom line is, a very good man. Let's just start with that. Just a good man, a kind man. I mentioned it yesterday, but I'm very good friends, and I've been fortunate in this regard to develop that over time because of the show I did with him with Trey Jones. But Trey is a really good person, and Trey has a great family and just a good, solid, salt of the earth guy. And he thought the world of Mike Martin, and I cherish that. I loved when he would talk about him, when he would talk about Mike to me. I mean, you'd see him light up. I mean, it was touching. I remember the first time he talked to me about Mike Martin, who shepherded him when he got here as a coach. And you could tell he was forever grateful. And he would fly down to Tampa with Mike, and they'd play in golf tournaments, and influential boosters would, be part of that. You're trying to woo people for money and help out. And I just thought that was the coolest thing, that Mike would always do that. And they would talk at length on those trips down there. And then he would share some of those conversations with me. And I just, because I admire Trey, I really appreciated the way he felt about him. Let me know just how rock solid Mike Martin was. My own experiences with Mike told me that, but to see it from a guy and to hear it from a guy who had spent so much time with him, it just further emboldened that.
It's pretty impressive too, because he was a pretty good golfer, and he was a pretty good golfer without knowing anything about golf balls.
We'll remember that commercial forever.
I don't know anything about golf balls, grips, and shafts, but I do know.
Yeah.
There's man, if I owned a business at any point, like if we ever opened up that pizza shop pub, and Mike was still kicking, man, that would be the dude to do the read. Everybody knows that voice. Like the best part of covering the game would be the promo read in the scoreboard and left.
Yeah.
Gordos.
Yeah. So I was the PA announcer at Hauser for a couple of years, and he was intimidating because he had a way that he wanted things to be. And when I would do the introductions as the players took the field, as they would run out to right field, center field, left field, and we'd go around the diamond, and I'd have the team there in front of me. We'd get the lineup card, and Jeff Purinton, who went on to be at Alabama with Nick Saban and is now at a small school where he's the athletic director, was to my right. And my old buddy Todd Van Dyke used to be there. And of course, later on, Todd did play-by-play for women's basketball. And it was a cool little family, and we would all be up there in the box. And man, I remember I'd get the card, and he would point to you as they played the music. They used the Bulls music, the dun 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 dun, and he would point to you when he was ready to go. If you went one beat too early or too late, you'd hear about it. He had a system he wanted done, because he'd meet with the team behind home plate at that time, and they would all stand there, and then the music's going, and the introduction, they told you who the home plate umpires are going to be and all that, or I've told you at that point who the home plate umpire is and who the first base, and then I would be watching him keenly, and then he'd be like, and he'd point, and it was an emphatic point, and then I'd be like, all right, and whatever I would say about welcoming the Knowles onto the field. And I remember there were a couple times where I screwed it up and you did not want to do that. And he would playfully say something to you the next time he saw you. Jeff? And I remember,
Damn it. Yeah.
yeah. Or if you did, I remember one time he was like, that was a good one today. That was a good one. So anyhow, yeah, good times. It's Jeff Cameron Show 93.3 Real Talk Radio. Warchant TV.
30-year-old Funny Paper and American Legion Post 13 have joined forces to become Major Morale. The new magazine has 4 more pages of post activities and military information that you probably never knew. But don't worry, it's still as politically correct and newsworthy as always. Okay, it's the same funny stuff, but it's still only available at the sponsors' locations like Keith Lawson Services, Tallahassee Automobile Museum, ABC Flooring, or Krispy Kreme Donuts. The country's best donut place has great different monthly specialty donuts like Ghirardelli, Oreo, Chips Ahoy, and too many more to mention. Sign up online at KrispyKreme.com for exclusive email discounts or download the app that lets you pile up rewards every time you order ahead. Krispy Kreme, America's favorite donut.
Whidden Glass has been taking care of business since 1945. When you call Whidden Glass, you're dealing with experienced, reliable professionals who offer only the best. Like Whidden's top-of-the-line bath enclosures that provide style and luxury at an affordable price. Eye-catching storefronts are a specialty at Whidden Glass. We'll help you design it and install it. Whidden Glass, the first name in glass replacement. Call 222-5781.
Hello, I'm Jimmy Fasig.
And I'm Dana Brooks of Fasig Brooks Law Offices.
When you're in an accident, traffic cameras can be the best source of evidence to prove who's at fault.
That's why Fasig Brooks has partnered with RoadProof to have access to all their traffic camera footage.
With RoadProof, we can search our network of traffic cameras to find the evidence that could help you win your case.
Call us today to see if we can help find the proof to help you come.
Call us now at 850-777-7777.
Hey, Jimmy.
Yeah.
You got one of those new cars that keeps you in the lane when you're driving or slams on the brakes if you get too close to another car?
No, I don't like that fancy technology stuff.
A lot of people don't. It's called lane departure warning and forward collision alert. And all that fancy stuff is attached to your windshield. So if it gets damaged, you need a qualified company like Seminole Auto Glass to replace and recalibrate your windshield. But don't call your insurance company. Just go to SeminoleAutoglass.com and upload your insurance card. Hey, Jimmy.
What?
Did you know that Teslas come with a unique new car smell? They call it Elon Musk.
Oh.
Better call Seminole.
If you've been waiting for the perfect time to buy your new house, you'll be waiting forever. This is Shannon Young with Fairway Independent Mortgage Corporation, and I have been a mortgage lender for over 20 years. And I can tell you that there is no such thing as perfect timing. So take the first step towards your new home and let me show you what that really looks like. Chances are very high that you'll be very surprised at what I can help you do. When rates go low, prices go high, and that home that you've been eyeballing could be gone. If you're wondering how the drop in interest rates is going to affect your payment, give me a call. I'll be more than happy to show you all of the options available to get you into your new home. And for every single loan that we close for a fellow Knoll, I will personally donate $250 per closing to the Battle's End. Let's do this together and let's keep climbing. Call me today at 954-369-6171. That's 954-369-6171. Or you can find me online at loansforknolls.com. That's loansforknolls.com.
Equal housing lender. NMLS number 373031.
We all want more energy, more strength, more results. Well, welcome to Orange Theory Fitness as you take a step towards feeling more alive today. Backed by science, Orange Theory's heart rate monitored workout is scientifically designed to keep heart rates in a target zone, spiking metabolism and increasing energy. Orange Theory Fitness is a one-of-a-kind group personal training workout resulting in more energy, visible toning, and extra calorie burn for up to 36 hours. Experience a more vibrant life today with Orange Theory Fitness. To find out more, go to orangetheoryfitness.com.
The Jeff Cameron Show is a production of the Warchant.com Multimedia Network. Check out Warchant.com today for the latest news inside Florida State athletics.
Real quick reminder here that this weekend in our own backyard is the second annual Tallahassee Highland Games Scottish Festival. It is a 2-day event starting Saturday, goes through Sunday, Appalachia Regional Park. Saturday's festivities, 8:30 a.m. to 8:30 p.m. Good time, Sunday 9 to 5. The adults and kids will have a good time here. A caber toss, giant log flipping, Atlas Stone carries. It's cool. I mean, you've all watched the Strongest Man competitions. This is kind of rooted in that in the Highland Games. There's a cow petting zoo, and these are those big ass dairy cows that they have over in Scotland, and bounce house too for the kiddies and all that. Food, family friendly options at the concessions, as well as some tasting of the scotch, of the good stuff. TallyHighlandGames.com to purchase tickets. Tally Highland Games to purchase tickets.
Yeah, put it on the video screen. You could see some of the stuff they do, like these ridiculous strong people carrying big crosses, carrying the Atlas stones. Like this is worth your time, man. I'd spend a day watching stuff like this, events like this. This is crazy strength.
The Atlas stones, man, and those. I mean, that's just. There's nowhere to get your hands. You got to get underneath the big giant ball, and it's dense, and
it's 400 pounds. One of them is 400 pounds. They just keep going higher. Yeah, they lift trucks. They flip logs. It's wild stuff, and that's just the athletic side of it. But there's food, there's music, there's all kinds of good stuff. But
yeah, it's a good time, and there's a big vast space. Everybody will have fun. So, TallyHighlandGames.com. You got to go over to Scotland, Tom. It's fun.
Well, you know,
Ireland first, since we're going to be there together. Yeah,
I've only got enough time for Ireland, but we are going a few days early so I can check out where my family comes from. But yeah, that was supposed to be the honeymoon. I'm lucky enough to have married a wonderful person who thought that St. Andrews for the Open Championship in 2020 would have been a wonderful honeymoon. Like, that's great, and we would have done it, but not for COVID. So the next time it's going to St. Andrews, I will let you know what excellent golf and open packages there are.
I wanted to go. I was supposed to go there for my 50th birthday. That was the big idea, was to go golf St. Andrews, and we didn't do it. It was a failure on all of my friends and family's part.
Might have been a thing about COVID too, the summer of 2021. Kind of hard to book at that point.
So anyhow, yeah, we should. By the way, I haven't even checked today. I got all kinds of money out there in the week that they're playing in the Pro Am. Did they get any in yesterday? Because I did.
Yeah, I saw that there was a highlight of Rory because he had taken an early lead, where he stuck it to 3 or 4 feet in the high winds from about 170, 175 out.
Yeah, and I also saw a highlight that he was assessed a 2-stroke penalty.
Was he really?
Yeah. There's something about a rule where he dropped from by this tree, and they had just recently changed the rule. Like, it wasn't sort of this intentional, obviously silly thing that he did, but he lost sight of the fact that rule had changed. And you know the rules better than I do, Tom, when it comes to where you can drop and can't drop. And apparently, yeah, he was assessed a 2-stroke penalty at the end of the day. So I do see where Dietrich is 9 under. Cantlay always is 8 under there. And Pavon, last week's winner, the Frenchman's on a roll. He's 7 under as well. So there's a Ricky Fowler sighting as well. So goodness gracious.
You got some live wager opportunities. This is a dead weekend for me. All the talk up here right now is the Knicks have won 9 straight. So people are freaking out about that. That's all well and good. They have, yeah. And Brunson dropped 40 last night. Like, I was watching the local news today, but there's no hockey this week because of the All-Star game. They picked the worst effing weeks. Hockey doesn't get it. They just don't get it. During Pro Bowl weekend is the time that you want to have like the outdoor classic. You don't want to have the All-Star game. The All-Star game. Like, tonight will be the Super Skills, but it's just, I'm yearning for information. And Florida State took a break this week too off the court. They had their bye week. So I'm leaning on recruiting. They got one more junior day. I'm starving. So it's junior day and some of the visitors that are coming this weekend. That's all I got.
Well, I was tempted to take today off. I mean, we could have taken the day off. And what I mean by that is, like, you don't need me to preview the Super Bowl for 2 weeks, guys. You just don't. And I know you don't. And, that's the hard part. It's you're kind of like, yeah, what do we do? And today was a day that, before I leave town, I thought, well, we could take the day off. But I did want to continue to talk a little bit more about Mike Martin like we did in that first segment. And there are some things out there that we can get into. I think that one of these days we could do without the 2-week split after the final AFC, NFC championship games and just go. They've done it before. Can we just go 1 week later and play the Super Bowl, please? We don't need this little spot. It's hard on us sports fans. It's just tough.
Well, and again, I know that people aren't lining up to watch hockey, but I am. And why would you ever take that week off? This is your week to put, like, if you put the Outdoor Classic and saved it from New Year's Day, which is owned by bowl games, right? And the NFL's taken over Christmas now, so you can't go there. But you can go against the Pro Bowl. You could throw the win, and it's, you know what? It's effing February. You could play the Winter Classic a lot of places in this country this weekend. But sure, play a 3-on-3 game that goes 10-6, whatever.
I have criticized the NHL, as you well know, and their pattern of scheduling for a very long time.
Yes.
It's the only sport I know of where on a random night you'll tune in and be like, oh, you know what? I'm going to take a break from basketball, watch a little hockey. Oh, there's no games. There's no games tonight at all. Oh, there's one game. There's one game tonight. One. What are we doing? You can stagger these things. We don't need 19 games on a Thursday and one on a Wednesday. It drives me nuts.
I guess that means I'll do stuff around the house. So be it.
I got to be a husband and a father and attentive. I have no escapism whatsoever. Hey, go get tickets to the Highland Games. This was a short segment. Had to be. Ran long in the first one. Jeff Cameron Show, 93.3 Real Talk Radio, Warchant TV.
Orthopedic pain and injury deserves effective treatment options now, so you feel better fast. Whether you have joint pain that won't subside or an urgent orthopedic injury, we are the specialists to get you back on your feet. And there's only one thing better than fast care: expert care. We believe you deserve both. TOC, only experts. Learn more at teamtoc.com.
So everybody knows, Eddie, that you are a spectacular cook. Of course they know that. If they go into Bumpa's, the food is always good. I mean, everything on the menu.
Mm-hmm.
Everything at Gordo's is delicious. I always, of course, get the bungalow chungla, as I call it.
The panko lechon, Jeff.
Is that what is the pork?
The panko lechon, Jeff.
Okay, the bungalow chungla. It's delicious. All of these things, all the items, everything you do, a master cook. But, sir, I would ask you, what is a skill that you possess that you're particularly proud of that nobody would know and that you could share with us here?
Growing hair, Jeff. Growing hair.
You're an asshole. Gordo's, bringing the flavor and flair of Cuban food to Tallahassee since 1996.
The Jeff Cameron Show is a production of the Warchant.com Multimedia Network. Check out Warchant.com today for the latest news inside Florida State athletics. That's Warchant.com. Now, back to Jeff on Real Talk 90.
Just got my notification during the break via email that my Battles Inn Truckers hat is on the way.
Oh.
Can't wait. Really looking forward to it. Don't know if you've seen the latest design, battlesinn.com.
I have. They put out a photo. Somebody was wearing it, a dignitary of sorts, at the East-West Shrine game. So I saw there was a photo at the Shrine game, which last night I think finally concluded. But everybody who's been doing those practices has been making a name for themselves, which is good to see. But yeah, Battles End personnel on the ground. Good to see that they follow the players even after their time at Florida State is done, to just hang out and fortify that relationship moving forward. Smart.
I'm telling you, not because we have a working relationship with and also are friends with the people involved with the Battles Inn. All that's true. In the interest of transparency, all of that is true. And I just talked to Ingram again the other day. But when I talk to people, and I've been a guest on a lot of shows over the last 2 years on this subject, because Florida State's been recognized over and over again as having a really well put together collective. And, I remember the first time it was brought up, I was talking to Andy Staples, and he was saying, look, I've done some looking around, and, I cover the whole of college football for On3 now. And he said, everybody you talk to in the industry will tell you, they'll name a few. It's not just Florida State. They'll name 3 or 4, but Florida State's name is on the short list of collectives that come up as having done it right, having taken it seriously. And to the point that you're making, that is exactly what they do, because it is not a one-off. It is not a check and then that's it. And, thank goodness you're here. It's we want to make this a complete thing. The relationship forged is one that we hope lasts for a very long time. And I've talked about how they've gone about the process of trying to educate players financially, how to teach them with the money that they're able to earn with name, image, likeness, how best to make that go a long way, how to set themselves up in case a pro career is not in their future. Hopefully it is for most of these young men, but we know the statistics say that it won't be. And so you got to have a good idea of what you're doing. And I think long-term, the reason that's important, beyond the fact that it's the right thing to do, and you can just start with that, by the way, usually with almost any endeavor, it's just the right thing to do. If you're on the right side of things, then you're going to be all right. You can make some mistakes along the way and it'll work out because you're trying to do what's important and what's right. But if you start with that, what happens is your reputation grows exponentially with every success, because the people who are the benefactors of that, the players who are the benefactors of that, and again, not just financially, those are people that will then tell the story of the Battle's End for you. You don't need to trumpet yourselves at that point, because you'll now have a lot of players and players' parents and loved ones who are willing to line up and have the conversation about that relationship, about that interaction, about that business practice. And I just think that that's important. And that has gone a long way. So I'm not surprised to hear you say there was somebody wearing a Battle's End hat there watching some of our players. And by the way, to your point, our players have done well, and Florida State's been well represented at these practices. I have a suspicion that, again, the thing we've been excited about with the draft is going to pass. It's going to happen. Florida State's going to have a lot of guys go, maybe double-digit guys go in this draft. That's huge.
It is. And a few things. I'll go back to the Battle's End part first, because often it's said that the number one recruiter for a coaching staff is the current players on the roster. So when a prospect comes in and visits for an official, or they're on an unofficial and they want to talk to players in the locker room, they can say, look, is this dude that I'm talking to right now the guy that I'm going to see when I get there for practice or the tour of duty or workouts? And by and large, Mike Norvell's reputation is that he is the same guy, which really helps you. And I think that's what makes his pitch, when Florida State didn't have much to sell, that much better, that much more worth it. And Jermaine Johnson was great to speed that process up. But for the collective side of things, they haven't had enough turnover yet. They've only been in existence for a year to have those types of endorsements from, and I'm not talking about money endorsements, I'm talking about testimonial endorsements about the value of what the Battle's End brings to the table. And I could tell you from, speaking behind the scenes, there's a few things that they do really well, but the thing that I like the most is, if a player is a transfer or a high school student and they're presented with a lot of potential options, as I understand it, the Battle's End doesn't run from that. They say, well, if you've got a better option,
feel free.
You only have one shot at this. That is the way to approach kids. Not saying that, everybody else sucks, we're the best. It's saying, look, everybody's path is different. The more you acknowledge that, the better you are as a recruiter, as a coach, and the better you will be as an NIL organization. I'll bet you that's the next thing that's coming for the Battle's End, is those kinds of testimonials from players and parents.
Well, it's huge, and it's important that you have that combination and communication within the rules, of course, with head coach and collective, and an understanding of how things should go. Mike, is every head coach, truthfully, has to be their number one recruiter. Your head coach has to be the reason that kids want to come there, at least from the football side of things. That has to be the case. I just hope, Tom, that, and if you would, go ahead and flash this young man up on the screen before we go to break here. We're about to go to break. Oh, no, he's giving me the note. You want to save it till the other side?
Might have to.
There's a certain linebacker out there, guys, I'm referencing that I'm excited about. We'll tell you who it is next on the Jeff Cameron Show, 93.3 Real Talk Radio, Warchant TV.
There's nothing like relaxing in a hot tub after a long day. But if you don't have one, you're truly missing out. Hot tubs and spas have tremendous health benefits, besides just helping you relax. Like improving your sleep, they help with pain relief. They help to better your cardiovascular health, and so much more. And this season is the perfect season to finally buy what you've been wishing for. Pinch a Penny Pool, Patio, and Spas has the hot tubs you need for the price you want. Come shop our huge 12,000 square foot showroom and save today. There's over 50 hot tubs in stock right now, so you won't have to wait weeks on end for that delivery to finally come to town. If you're ready to relax, we're here to show you how. Pinch a Penny Pool, Patios, and Spas. Come visit our huge showroom at 2473 Greer Road with over 50 hot tubs to choose from. You'll be glad you did.
Barry knows cool. He's keeping you comfortable. Barry knows cool. You can put them to the test.
Your heating and air conditioning system doesn't check with you before it takes a break. That's why we're always ready to help. Any day, anytime, anywhere. And with our annual service agreement, there are no overtime charges. Ever. At Verno Heating and Air, we will always be there for you.
Barry knows heating and air conditioning.
License CAC 1816186.
Hey, no fans, our partner ISF Inc. is a national management and IT consulting firm located right here in Tallahassee, Florida, solving the future for state governments through strategy, process, and technology. As a trusted advisor for state governments, ISF knows the importance of defining a clear and detailed strategy. Our friends at ISF can help your organization create a strategy that sets you on a path to success. ISF, your vision plus our expertise brings your brilliant ideas to life. Visit ISF.com to learn more. ISF, solving the future.
Man, I just got a text from my wife. She wants me to cook dinner and then snuggle on the couch next to a roaring fire.
So what's the problem, Dave? You already got the new grill, and you're a great cook.
I got one major problem. We don't have a fireplace.
Man, that's an easy fix. Just call Hearth and Patio. They got a lot of fireplaces that can help you for your romantic evenings. Wood, gas, electric, and a ton of different sizes, man. Call Hearth and Patio today, 850-727-4282, or visit them online at hearthpatiotallahassee.com. Hearth and Patio. Ignite that spark in your life.
There's fun to be had every night at the Corner Pocket. Take home prizes on Trivia Tuesdays and Beer Bingo Thursdays. And kickstart your weekend with Martini Fridays. Plus happy hour runs every weekday and game day specials every time the Noles take the field. Watch all the best games at the Corner Pocket's Vegas Wall, featuring 560 inches of flat screen TV heaven.
Oh, really?
The best food, the best drinks, and the best place to watch all the games. Tallahassee loves the Corner Pocket.
Coming up next, more of the Jeff Cameron Show. Live and local on Real Talk 93.3. WVFT. Greta, Tallahassee.
Jim Gaffigan here with some more Straight Talk. Let's take a moment to appreciate our sweet children, loving grandparents, and eternal soulmates. Now let's use them to save money on wireless. Because with the Straight Talk Silver Plan, you get 4 lines for just $25 a month with unlimited data and no contracts. Thanks, kids. They're finally worth it.
And now get a Samsung Galaxy A14 included when you buy an extended Silver Unlimited plan. Find us at straighttalk.com. For data management practices and additional terms, visit straighttalk.com. Device offer ends 4/14/24. Online only, excludes taxes and fees.
I always wanted to learn Spanish, but I never thought I'd have the time. Then I discovered Babbel.
Babbel's lessons are fun. They only take like 10 or 15 minutes, and in 3 weeks, presto, you're starting to speak another language, like magic.
I love that Babbel's lessons aren't just robots talking. They're voiced by native speakers, so you get the pronunciation just right.
If you want to learn a language, there's no faster, easier, better way than
Babbel.
Babbel.
Go to Babbel.com and start learning a new language today. That's BABBEL.com.
Give your business a facelift with a modern, consistent, creative brand overhaul from Curiosity Marketing Group. These days, it's not enough for your business just to have a standard website or a Google listing to reach your customers. Your business needs to stand out with eye-popping branding, modern web development, and strong marketing. And it takes a team to pull it all together. Words and websites matter. At Curiosity, we make the most of yours. Find out more at curiositymg.com.
I used to fight almost on a daily basis working on my business website. I'm a pretty smart guy, but I could never get it to function the way I needed it to, and I was losing customers because of it. That's when I called Curiosity Marketing.
They listened, they understood, we collaborated, and in the end, they delivered beyond my highest expectations. Now, I can barely keep up with the work. They say the future belongs to the curious, and now I'm excited about the future of my business.
Find out more at curiositymg.com.
Hello, I'm Dana Brooks.
And I'm Jimmy Basic of Basic Brooks Law Offices.
Traffic cameras are everywhere these days.
And Basic Brooks is partnered with RoadProof to get access to all their vast network of cameras.
This is a valuable tool to help us search for evidence that could help you if you were involved in an accident.
If you've been hurt in an accident, call Basic Brooks and we'll find out if the proof you need is out there.
Call Basic Brooks and we'll do everything we can to help you come back stronger.
Call us now at 850-777-7777.
We all want more energy, more strength, more results. Well, welcome to Orange Theory Fitness as you take a step towards feeling more alive today. Backed by science, Orange Theory's heart rate monitored workout is scientifically designed to keep heart rates in a target zone, spiking metabolism and increasing energy. Orange Theory Fitness is a one-of-a-kind group personal training workout resulting in more energy, visible toning, and extra calorie burn for up to 36 hours. Experience a more vibrant life today with Orange Theory Fitness. To find out more, go to orangetheoryfitness.com.
Broadcasting live from Florida's capital city, this is the Jeff Cameron Show, brought to you by Orange Theory Fitness on Real Talk 93.3. Now, stop what you're doing and listen closely. It's time for the Jeff Cameron Show in 5, 4, 3.
Hour number 2, Libations Friday, rolling on. Good to be with you. Thanks for being with us. I'm Jeff. That's Tom. Director Matthew is somewhere around here doing something on Twitter. It's at J Cameron Show. Let me reiterate as I get set here with this hour. Recorded today, earlier today. It was in the morning, in fact. Tom and I were doing the show as the sun was coming up right outside my window. It was beautiful. And we had time to reflect on Mike Martin in hour 1. Yet again, I enjoyed that thoroughly. If you missed that, I strongly recommend you go back and listen to that. Just some fun memories and really a way to kind of quantify the time and the stretch of dominance from Florida State baseball, and then a little bit, of course, also about the man himself. I went to break a moment ago talking about a linebacker, guys, and his name is Cam Riley, and Tom's going to put him up on the screen for those of you watching on Warchant TV. Get a load of that dude, all right? So he is 6'5", 242 pounds. Had 2.5 sacks, 3.5 tackles for loss, 32 tackles overall last year for Auburn. He makes his way in. I'd say that's a thumper, Tom. That is a thumper. That's a guy that's going to help you when you are facing a team that wants to run the ball. And I don't know. I didn't watch a ton of bad Auburn football last year, so I got to be honest with you. I'll have to really delve down into it and look at whatever I can find on Cam Riley. But I do know that he's an SEC linebacker. He's 6'5", 240, and if you take a look at most of our linebackers in the past, we're a little bit light. This is going to be one of the bigger linebackers. You post him with DJ Lundy, and all of a sudden you want to line up and run the ball. We can go heavy. We can go big. We can play that game. I can meet you in the hole.
That is the key here. Is I think this is a depth linebacker who, again, the story might be a little bit different than Sean Murphy, the young man from Alabama, who is younger in his career and
quite a bit lighter and can fly. And
was at Alabama where they're churning out linebackers. They're playing really good defense. Not to say that Cam Riley cannot be a good player. The size, the measurables are there. Yeah. So he could develop into something even better when he gets here with the opportunity in Tallahassee. But I think this is somebody to fortify your top 4 rotation. You just don't have one. And the coaching staff is telling you that the loss of Deloach, the loss of Bethune, is not going to be replaced by dudes on the roster. They're not ready right now. You know, in normal times, when you're operating the way that you should as a program, when you lose a guy, you don't have to dip into the portal to get an immediate replacement. But Florida State is looking to do that, and they've done it twice now, dipping into the state of Alabama for transfer linebackers, assuming that they do land this guy. And the difference between Cam Riley and many others is, well, it's February. He's visiting in February, which means that he can't enroll until after the spring semester. So this would be a summer enrollee. I don't think they're going to worry about the weight room at 6'5", 240 pounds. but just getting up to speed on what Florida State does schematically, he would be, if he does say yes to Florida State, a summer enrollee.
Yeah, and that's fine. I really went into the offseason very, very concerned about that position group more than any other, and you guys know that. If you listen to the show, you've heard me prattle on about this quite a bit. It's been annoying. I've been frustrated. I've called out Randy Shannon. I've called out the situation at linebacker for some time. I don't believe that Florida State is where they need to be at that position. This is a program that aspires to be national championship caliber annually. National championship caliber programs have linebackers ready and waiting. They have the requisite depth and size and speed, and they make plays. And, we just haven't seen a degree of consistency that I'd like. We haven't had the depth. Now, you've had guys who played with a ton of heart and played pretty well. Obviously, you had guys who had a ton of snaps under their belt, and Tatum Bethune and Kalen DeLoach. You just referenced those two, but those were all you had. You didn't feel good after that. And if any of those guys got dinged and they had years where they did, you were in real trouble. And I think there's inconsistency with the other linebackers that have played. That includes DJ Lundy. And so I think you need to have a variety at that position. I understand the game has gone away from what it used to be. You used to see a lot of 4-3. You had 3 linebackers out there in a traditional sense. You had a Mike linebacker and a Will linebacker. We would all look out there. You'd see under the old guides, OLB and MLB, right? You had middle linebacker and outside linebacker and all those things. And the game's changed, and a lot of teams kind of take the field with 2 linebackers at any given time, and they'll have another corner or safety, guys that can cover but also can come up and be good against the run. But occasionally you'll get trapped, and this happens a lot in the SEC, where you're playing a really physical team that wants to run downhill. It's a team that is going to try to bully you. They've got a 235-pound back to go along with a huge offensive line. They're running double tights. They'll bring in big packages, and they're going to challenge you and chin check you early in a game, because as well as I do, if you can't stop the run, guys don't go away from it. They're going to continue to run. It is the most emasculating way to lose a football game. It is the most devastating way physically and mentally to have to deal with an opposing offense, is if they are establishing the run and they're gashing you for 5, 6 yards a carry. If you don't have the personnel that can stop that, you're going to lose that football game. Your offense is never going to see the ball. And I've been worried about that for some time now, because I kind of felt like, had we gotten into the playoff, and we deserved to be, that was going to be the area that I was going to be watching so closely, because you thought about the opponents, in particular Michigan, Tom, and you thought, okay, they're going to make you show them. They're going to make you. That's what they do. I mean, I will credit Harbaugh all day long for this. I love the way, and I know a lot of people that are Florida State fans don't agree with me on this. I just like the way that the way he built the program. I liked what he did. They had a crazy variety of runs and run packages, and they would run. I mean, hell, we saw them beat good teams occasionally, or fairly good teams, and not throw a pass in the second half. So if you're capable of doing that, you're telling somebody, if you can't stop this, we're going to keep doing it. Penn State, they did it too. So I just want Florida State to be equipped to do that. Like, no, we're not doing that. You're not going to do that to us today. You're going to have to play real football. That's a long-winded way of saying you're going to have to play us honest. You're going to have to scheme this with complementary football and do some other things in order for this to open back up. Getting a big kid like that, going out and bringing other linebackers in, creating some depth is going to be vital. So let's hope this is the beginning of something very important that Florida State's able to accomplish, which is bring in the right types of guys and have them work out well. We have not recruited the position all that well at all. There are a couple guys that I'm excited about. I've mentioned this before, but we need more of them. Hopefully they get the Riley kid.
I would say, yeah, the Michigan thing, too, came after a failed experiment, because Harbaugh did take a detour from the Stanford plan and tried to go modern and spread. Didn't work for him, and he said, "The hell with this. We're just going power. We're going to run it and run it and run it some more," and it worked, and they actually won the national title, which is great because it's going to inject hopefully some more variety into college football. I think Florida State's trying to do that to a degree on offense with the players that they're bringing in. It suggests that they're trying to do it more than they have been in the past, at least. defensively, if you were able to land this guy, that now means that you would have 6'5", 240. DJ Lundy is 6'1", 240. Sean Murphy is 6'2", 225. And then from there, you've got some of the younger players that can continue to battle with Blake Nicholson, Justin Cryer, Omar Graham. All three of those players.
Justin Cryer has me excited, Tom. I really like the potential of Justin Cryer. Not as much with Omar Graham at all. But I do think that and Nicholson will be interesting to watch this year, by the way, to bring him up, not to exclude him from this conversation. I was very impressed with his coverage skills last year.
Yep.
He looked like a glorified safety. He's got to get bigger. He works hard in the weight room. He put on weight while he was here, so I have no reason to believe that he won't get bigger and stronger. And if he retains that speed, you got a guy that you can put out there who can cover opposing tight ends, can be a guy that you can trust in coverage. We haven't had a guy in coverage in a long time that you felt very good about.
Correct. And somehow, some way, our top flight opponents and rivals and Southeastern teams find dudes that are 6'1", 230 that can still cover, like total freaks. There aren't very many of them. But when you say it out loud and you look at the rotation at that level, like, look, man, nobody killed the effort or not the effort, but the aptitude of Omar Graham more than me. Like in post-game shows, I got a lot of razz for it because it's a 10-10 ball game. It's a 17-10 ball game. Why are we rotating these guys in? But it's a new year. It's a clean slate. Perhaps there's development that comes along to where you can be a rotational piece. He's a young player, so perhaps that's the case. But when you say that you've got now in your top three, Murphy from Alabama, Lundy, if you land this kid, then you get Cam Riley. Then you have the trio of the younger players, a couple of young freshmen that are coming in. DeMarco Ward's another player. Like, you're just looking for a candidate to land a fourth and fifth linebacker. There are more numbers to address the position than you have had in the past. It's just going to be hard to duplicate, I think, what Kalen DeLoach and what Tatum Bethune were when they were healthy year over year. It's going to be very difficult to duplicate that. I think you got a better chance at creating a similar effect off the edge at defensive end than you do at linebacker, because what Kalen meant to this team last year in so many critical moments, you could see it. And then what Tatum Bethune was this year versus last when he was healthier, you could see the difference there as well. I know he got banged up towards the end of the season, but that was a much better linebacking core in 23 than the season prior. And they were the same two dudes.
Those two individuals played with heart. They played with guts. They played with savvy. They were smart. They overcame some things athletically that with their intelligence, it was important. Tatum Bethune is a smart football player.
That's Tatum, because Kalen's fast as hell. That'll play at the NFL level. That's speed.
Yeah, Kalen can run. But Tatum Bethune was the more consistent player, I thought, when he was healthy. And he had a lot of injuries, but he played a ton of football. And you think about the way that he played through injury, the interception against Louisville in the ACC championship game. I mean, he's out there on a bad wheel. I mean, he was, that guy, that's heart for days.
That drive was all Tatum Bethune. That was absurd. Yeah. He made 3 brilliant plays on that drive. And Kalen made the play of the year at Clemson, and Kalen, man, I look forward to seeing what he could be at the NFL level. Maybe he's not a down in and down out player, but he's got blitzing skills, which the NFL cares about. Straight ahead speed. Can you get to the passer? And then in special teams as well, that dude is that he's built to be on a roster for a long time at minimum for special teams. But you're trying to recreate that. Maybe Murphy can be that player. Our guy over at Alabama for On3 said it was just kind of a numbers deal. It's not a lack of skill. So maybe he shows up here and he has a Jermaine Johnson-like effect where you go, well, that's what it's supposed to look like, and it's a fixed issue.
If you just look at the people that we've brought in from the SEC, and you talk about the clay, look, man, I mean, we forget about Keir Thomas. We shouldn't. He was a fantastic football player. For the most part, they've been home runs. Not all. We had a defensive end we brought in from South Carolina last year that.
Yeah, he's all right.
Yeah, he was average. He was average. I don't think he was better than what you lost to Colorado.
Right. Agreed. But Jamie Robinson from the SEC.
Very good. We can keep going. I mean, obviously, Jermaine Johnson, let's just go there. I mean, comes over from Georgia. Now, they're not all SEC guys. Braden Fisk was very good, and he's from Western Michigan, obviously. But the point is, and Jared Verse was phenomenal, and he's from Albany. You do find diamonds in the rough occasionally. But for the most part, if you're just talking about athleticism, I like taking the chances on these kinds of players from the SEC because, well, it's self-evident. And not only from the SEC, but from Alabama or from Georgia or from LSU. I mean, the chances are those players signed off on in recruiting by the head coaches of those places are going to have the requisite tools. Now you got to make them better players and you got to get them to produce, but they are going to have they're the right kind of clay that you're molding.
The thing I like too is if you get in third and obvious this season and you only want to have one linebacker on the field, you can do it.
Oh, you've got,
because Earl Little helps that equation. You know, Earl Little
is going to be a star.
And Shaheem, you know, if you're looking for crossover type players, hell, to a degree, I know he's going to want to play outside, but AZ Thomas in that specific situation might be able to come in. You play somebody else on the outside. Like, you're just talking about hybrid body types, and they've got more young players who are capable of doing that too. Just the frames that you're seeing in this defensive backcourt, it's the modern day hybrid. A corner who's 6'2", we would have thought that's dumb 10 years ago, 15 years ago. You can't do it. You're not quick enough. You're not agile enough. Modern day athletes are plenty agile enough at 6'1", with a wingspan of somebody who's 6'3.5" or 6'4". Like, so you just got to get me to third and long. And then if you are worried about coverage skills, I think we've got enough hybrid type players that if you only feel comfortable with one dude on the field, you can do that. But I like Florida State's chances if they land Cam Riley to impose their will on third and short again, because you're right. If you could put that dude out there with DJ Lundy,
you got some thumpers.
It's nearly 500 pounds of linebacker. Oh, that'll work.
That's going to go a long way. And, you know, I'm glad you bring up Azareye'h Thomas. I think throughout the offseason, his name's going to come up a lot. It just is. I think he's probably on the cusp of his last season at FSU, and I think he's going to have a big, big year. He's got everything you need. And now he's played enough where he's got the savvy of a veteran with the athleticism and that length that we were all impressed with from day one when he stepped foot out there. Just hadn't played a lot of football for us, and then he did. And then he started playing more and more and more. And I think he goes into next year, without a doubt, as a guy to circle, as somebody who I think has a huge year. You can't look like that with that length and that fluidity and ability to switch directions. He tackles well. There's just so many things I like about him. I think he should be a star of this defense.
And he played with fire towards the end of the year too, because that means he's confident. Now he knows that he knows what he's looking at. It's slowed down for him. And the other thing about AZ Thomas too, behind the scenes, he's got all the details down. Like, this is a mature kid who knows the magnitude of the moment. He talked one of his relatives down. Oh, you'll love this, on social media, who was, you know, barking back and forth with a fan about criticisms from, I think, a Miami fan. So you got this back and forth. And AZ says, family, stop commenting on this stuff. This is irrelevant. It's social media. He gets it.
He gets it. And, I think, by the way, I think a lot of guys his age who are elite athletically have had to grow up in the era of social media, have had to get used to being in the limelight and being spoken of by other people. And they're more equipped to deal with that than somebody who's a little bit older, somebody who would be a relative, an uncle or a father figure or a grand, like most you and I, it's very different. I mean, I see the folly in all of that, but I think people my age react to it more and they get angry if they engage in it. I don't engage in it anymore, but that you can see how that happens. My kids, they laugh at that stuff. They're like, it's just trolls on the internet. Dad, don't worry about that. That doesn't mean anything.
And then the generation older than you is like, I saw this video on Facebook. Can you believe this happened?
It didn't happen. You've been lied to. Yeah, no, it's brutal. It's Jeff Cameron Show, 93.3 Real Talk Radio, Warchant TV.
Tired of achy joints? Dread the idea of surgery? You need to call QC Kinetics today. Hey, everybody, it's Greg Tish. Listen, the state of healthcare is always changing. The old ideas like steroids and surgery are no longer your only options. Regenerative medicine at QC Kinetics is transforming lives with innovative, non-surgical, drug-free treatments that deliver lasting results. Knee pain, back pain, shoulder pain from arthritis or injury? Don't let that pain keep you from living your best life. QC Kinetics' advanced state-of-the-art treatments harness and direct your body's natural ability to restore and repair damaged joint tissue. This is a revolutionary approach that can give you long-term relief with no downtime. Make 2024 the year you reclaim your mobility, reclaim your independence, walk and run, play and live without danger and trauma of surgery and without harmful drugs. Call QC Kinetics for a free consultation. Their number, 850-391-4280. That's 850-391-4280. 850-391-4280.
This is Jamie McClenney with Trek Financial in Tallahassee. Despite the highest global interest rates in almost 2 decades, inverted yield curves, conflicts in the Middle East, and 3 of the largest bank failures in U.S. history, equities and bond markets have posted stellar returns for 2023. The Dow Jones, the NASDAQ 100, and the Russell 2000 all reached new highs as markets rallied on the expectations of Fed pauses, Fed easing, and Fed bank bailouts. Markets are going to do what markets are going to do, but a clearly defined risk management protocol can help to mitigate large drawdowns in your retirement nest egg. If you're concerned where all this might be headed, call me at 850-900-5200 and let's talk about ways to mitigate the risk in your portfolio.
Make Jamie your first call for that second opinion. Investment advisory services offered through Trek Financial LLC, an SEC registered investment advisor.
If you've been waiting and waiting for the perfect time to buy your new house, you'll be waiting forever. This is Shannon Young with Fairway Independent Mortgage Corporation, and I have been a mortgage lender for over 20 years. And I can tell you that there is no such thing as perfect timing. So take the first step towards your new home and let me show you what that really looks like. Chances are very high that you'll be very surprised at what I can help you do. When rates go low, prices go high, and that home that you've been eyeballing could be gone. If you're wondering how the drop in interest rates is going to affect your payment, give me a call. I'll be more than happy to show you all of the options available to get you into your new home. And for every single loan that we close for a fellow Knoll, I will personally donate $250 per closing to the Battle's End. Let's do this together and let's keep climbing. Call me today at 954-369-6171. That's 954-369-6171. Or you can find me online at loansforknolls.com. That's loansforknolls.com.
Equal housing lender. NMLS number 373031.
Social Kitchen is now open on Cary Forest Parkway near Ology Northside, Tallahassee's only premier market where you can receive the famed Snake River Farm steaks and premier meats. Social Kitchen also has chef-prepared meals and sides ready to serve in just under 20 minutes. Perfect for those very busy springtime weeks, weekends, you name it. Hosting some people at the house. Hey, Social Kitchen also has build-your-own charcuterie boards and catering. Stop in and visit Social Kitchen today or visit us online at socialkitchentlh.com. socialkitchentlh.com. We all want more energy, more strength, more results. Well, welcome to Orange Theory Fitness as you take a step towards feeling more alive today. Backed by science, Orange Theory's heart rate monitored workout is scientifically designed to keep heart rates in a target zone, spiking metabolism and increasing energy. Orange Theory Fitness is a one-of-a-kind group personal training workout resulting in more energy, visible toning, and extra calorie burn for up to 36 hours. Experience a more vibrant life today with Orange Theory Fitness. To find out more, go to orangetheoryfitness.com.
The Jeff Cameron Show is a production of the Warchant.com Multimedia Network.
Time to get into the red zone as we're wont to do on Libations Friday. Thanks to our friend Adam Tolliver, fellow Knoll Adam Tolliver. By the way, we do this every week. You guys know it, and it's a fun one. It's a fun segment. I'm always curious as to what Tom's going to ask me for the red zone. Now that it's not necessary, well, we're almost out of football season. But anyhow, the 5 years leading up to your retirement date and the immediate 5 years after, critical times of thoughtful planning for you and your family. And our friend, fellow Knoll Adam Tolliver, aforementioned, and his team at Artisan Financial Strategies are prepared to coach you to victory. You might be at midfield trying to move on into that red zone. Others are already right there on the goal line looking to punch it in. Make sure you know how much you can spend without running out of money. Protect yourself and your family against rising healthcare costs. Carefully plan your legacy with my friends at Artisan Financial Strategies. You can do it. 30-plus years of experience, world-class resources. They'll negotiate your financial future so that you don't have to worry about all those things that we lay in bed at night thinking about tossing and turning. Some people have already told me that they have taken me up on the offer to go to NoelRetirement.com. You should too. NoelRetirement.com. Tommy, let's do this thing, buddy.
Welcome to the majesty.
Every freaking rep.
The elegance.
To win the game. Oh, he hits the upright. It's no good.
You have entered.
Someone burned down the funeral home. You burnt the funeral home.
Lives will be changed.
Sideline. Touchdown. Unbelievable.
Mothers will cry.
When you see your players give all that they have and you lose that way, it's tough.
Legacies are etched into eternity.
I know who I am.
North, South Dakota was his brother from West Virginia.
This is the Red Zone.
That's good to know.
It is. What do you got for me this time around, Tom?
All right, it's a 3-pack of questions today. Pack. And they're about DJU. They're about DJ Uiagalelei. So, first question. Yep. First question about DJU. It's predicting, of course, what's going to happen in 2024. If you look at the past 3 years of DJU's efforts on the ground, the amount of carries he's registered, I'm taking away quarterback sacks. In 2021, DJU logged 84 carries. In 2022, DJU logged 120 carries. And last season, 57 carries. Mm-hmm. How many carries for DJU in 2024 in this offense?
You know, I 65. I would like to see him have more than that, Tom, but he is not like it's not like asking Jaden Daniels to run or even Jordan Travis, obviously, who didn't really towards the end of his career want to run. DJ's not that kind of an athlete. He's not that kind of a freak. He's not a make you miss sort of guy. He is a big, strong man who's going to get the tough yards if you need him to. I will say this, and I will qualify it a little bit here. My criticisms of DJU in the past when we saw him at Clemson or we saw him at Oregon State, and he had some good seasons in there. When he's good, he's good. He was good against us in Tallahassee. Is that I don't think he was always a willing runner. I never felt like he loved to run. He's not afraid. I'm not trying to paint a picture of somebody who's frightened by contact, but I just don't think that was a part of his game that he embraced. It wasn't something that I thought he loved to do. Some guys, I hate to do this, but some guys love to run. Tim Tebow couldn't wait to run. I mean, in fact, it was almost a criticism, right? Like that guy wanted to run. And part of that was because he was a really big, strong guy who was not afraid. And frankly, even though he's who he is, it was incredible to watch him run over defenses in the SEC. You probably won't never see that again. It's very rare. Cam Newton liked to run. He was really good at it. Really good at it. And was a monster of a man, freak of an athlete. DJ does not fall in any of those categories or anything close to it. He's just a big, strong kid. So I think you have to have a willingness to run to get the tough yards between the tackles with him. I think you have to show that he'll keep and run on read option. I think you have to see that, right? You have to show a willingness to tuck it. And I think that Mike will get back to that. I think Norvell will get back to that. I think he wanted to do it a year ago, but I don't believe Jordan Travis wanted to run. And I think Mike realized we had a very good defense. We weren't facing murderer's row of offenses after you got past LSU. So you were going to be able to kind of be in the game until your passing game got clicking, until you broke off a long Trey Benson run, created field position, whatever it might be. So he didn't have to run Jordan, so he thought, I won't run him. I won't run him if I don't have to because I don't want him to get hurt. Because Jordan Travis is not a big guy. DJU is a big guy and can withstand those hits. So I think it's a happy medium there trying to find that, have it be a part of your offense. I just don't think it's a go-to the way it is with certain other quarterbacks.
So I'll add a bonus question. So we'll end up having 4. The last 3 seasons, DJU has amassed 4, 7, and 6 rushing touchdowns on each season Over under 6.5. Over under 6.5 rushing touchdowns for DJU this season.
Under.
Okay. See, I thought you would have been bullish on at least inside the 5-yard line. You're going to use this kid as a battering ram. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I'd be surprised if they did, but I'd try to use them that way, but I don't think Mike will. I think that they've got some options at running back right now that are pretty strong, pretty big, stout dudes. And if you're big on the offensive line, you can hand it to a running back.
Yes, you can. Roydell will be a good answer.
Yeah.
Keziah, Cam Davis, all good answers.
Yeah, I'm excited to see Cam Davis.
The next question is not about Cam, unfortunately. Sorry, maybe we'll do that next week. We do a Cam Davis over under 1,050 yards rushing. Completion percentage, you'll see the pattern here, at least for now. Completion percentage for DJU over the last 3 years. 2021, 56%. This is rounded to the nearest percent. 2022, 62%. 2023, 57%. What percentage is the completion rate going to be this year for DJU in Tallahassee?
It's going to be over 60%. And here's the thing. It's got to be, you cannot be a college quarterback and college offenses going against college defenses and not complete over 60% of your passes. It's a huge red flag that he has had a couple of 50-something% completion percentage seasons. That ain't good. This is not good. And that is a problem with him. He's not always the most accurate thrower of the football. Love the arm. Big cannon for an arm can really make a defense have to play you honest and stretch the field, but he misses some easier throws, and he can't miss those throws. Now, Mike will put him in some friendly situations, and I think that will increase the completion percentage. I think we can run quick game with him, obviously, with the speed you now have on the outside to go along with the height. I would say that you'll see it tick up, and it'll be north of 60% this year. And I think it just needs to be. I mean, he's played a lot of football. He's seen a lot of things now. This should be his best year by far. He's got weapons to throw to. We'll see if this offensive line's good. I think it will be pretty good. He's got running backs to help alleviate some pressure. He's got a star tight end. I don't see a reason it won't be over 60%.
Yeah, you get to define after the season just how quarterback friendly this offense is. I think that's the fun of it. You know, Jonathan Smith's offense is a lot of fun to watch. Just checking out Oregon State a little bit closer after, the DJU rumors were surfacing.
Yeah.
It's a really fun offense. It's multiple as hell. Dare I say more multiple than we run. But it can be a little bit more difficult. There aren't as many layup throws. This offense generates a lot of easy looks. If you're smart enough to handle the pre-snap, which he has to be because that offense was complicated that he's coming from, I agree. It probably should be in the mid-60s when the season's over.
I also want to say that I think, I saw somebody on the boards quoted me and said, Jeff Cameron just said our offense is going to be better this year than last, whatever it was the other day.
You were on the boards?
Yeah, I went on the boards to make sure that everything posted for the Q&A from the Renegade Room. I wanted to make sure that people got their questions answered, and it wasn't a lot of questions, but I wanted to be sure that the video went up and all that. So when I went over there, then I started perusing to see what the topics were, and I went over to the tribal council because I was checking out Langston's stuff. I was in the recruiting, but I surveyed the whole landscape, Tom.
Well, hot damn! It's like you're at the flea market. You're saying, "I'm going to stop at that stand. I'm going to stop at that stand."
I went tribal council. I went tribal council club. I went recruiting premium and renegade room. I did it all, buddy. I was there. I was, and I saw where somebody quoted. You said Jeff just said. I didn't look at all the responses, but I saw where Jeff just said that our offense is going to be better than it was last year. I believe that. I'm going to stand by that. I don't think the offense was great last year. And I think Mike is more multiple than he showed last year, Tom. I think last year we got in a rut, and it was because he couldn't trust the offensive line.
Yeah.
And then they got hurt.
So you're finding a way. You're not dumbing it down because the players know what to run. You're just simplifying it because they're not capable of running.
Yeah, I don't think people realize. I really don't think people realize that offense last year was okay. It was just okay. It was not a great offense, and they did early in the year, a lot of things that I think would have continued to grow. We would have grown some things out of what they were doing that we weren't allowed to because guys got hurt. And I believe Jordan Travis played much of the year a little dinged. And there's just a lot there that we didn't need to get into. We're not allowed to get into. Yeah. I think the offense is way better than it showed last year. And I think we'll be reminded of that if we're healthy this year. You'll see some things where you're like, wow, this offense is more consistent. It's more varied. It's more nuanced than it was a year ago. It's more multiple than it was a year ago. And it's going to remind you of the way that he used to scheme things up when we had far less talent.
Yeah, the part about Jordan, I believe, is true about him playing dinged up. But I will say this, so that's out of the way, the qualifier. If Jordan from 2022 with deep ball accuracy was in last year's offense, this would have been. Last year's offense would have been everything that we expected it to be.
Yeah.
Because that would have opened up so much more underneath, and you would have had to play the run a little bit more honest. Like it didn't end up working out that way. But that's a nice segue because the final question. Last year, Jordan Travis averaged roughly 275 passing yards per game. He played in the 11th game, but he had 4 pass attempts and he got hurt. So it's roughly 275 passing yards per game. DJU will go over or under 275 passing yards per game this season.
He'll go under that, but it'll be close. They're going to run the ball more effectively. I think they're hell-bent on running the ball more effectively, and I don't think they're going to need him to throw it around the lot as much as they needed Jordan Travis to throw it around the lot. We had explosive plays from Trey Benson, but we did not have consistency in the run game. And Jordan never hardly ran the ball, and so you didn't have that aspect either. And I just felt like this was a boom or bust sort of offense last year. It was very weird. It's frustrating, frankly. So I think if they can run the ball at all, you're not going to ask DJ to throw it for close to 300 yards a game. And that's what you're telling me I have to choose from. Like if I'm going to take the over, am I taking the over as in like he's throwing for 285, 290 a game? Nah, he will. I think it'll be somewhere in the neighborhood of 275, 270, something like that, 265. And I'm fine with that because I want to run the ball more anyhow.
So if you're considering Jordan Travis rushing attempts last year, not including sacks, you're at 59. So basically what you're projecting is DJ is going to run the ball about the same amount as Jordan per game.
Maybe slightly more. Maybe slightly more.
And Jordan last year completed about 64% of his passes. I think that's the neighborhood you think that DJ is going to operate in under Mike Norvell. And DJ is going to throw for about the same amount of yards as Jordan. So you're going to get a very similar quarterback. But what I'm hearing you say, if you believe the offense is going to be better and you've got a very similar production out of the quarterback, is that we're going to run the ball. We're going to be able to run the ball this season.
Well, we'll be able to run the ball and then we'll be healthier. So I think the explosives will be more frequent. And I think that there will be also the types of runs can be very different. You know, I mean, that's the other thing is like DJ may only run 10 more times than Jordan, but if there's a willingness to run in short yardage situations, it's a very different kind of run. And there may be some called runs that we didn't really have for Jordan last year. Jordan, you know, they didn't want him to run. So it'll just look different. It'll look different. Just statistically, it may not be that varied, but it'll look different.
It has to.
Yeah.
Look at those two quarterbacks year over year, and they couldn't look much different. I mean, Jordan.
Well, and I'm going to tell you that, again, Mike, I thought got into a bit of a rut, and I think he was frustrated. I don't think that went as well as he had hoped last year offensively. I'm sure his hopes were – well, I know they were. They were sky high going into the season because of the weapons that they added. And then you have that LSU game, and the offense is very good, in particular in the second half. They really get it moving once Jordan settled down. Not a great first half for him. And then you saw really what it could look like. Because that might be the only damn game where you have everybody at full strength. And you saw what a fresh, healthy, hungry, focused Keon Coleman was. You saw what Johnny Wilson was. You saw what Jordan Travis was. They had Jaheim Bell looked like another player altogether in that LSU game. There's not another game the rest of the year where Jaheim Bell has that speed. Because he ends up hurting his ankle somewhere along the way early in the season, and he's never right again. He's not close to it. So they just got to be healthier. And they got to run the ball to create the balance they want.
Okay, so let me steal a question from next week. I actually had one queued up for next week, but because we're talking about how the offense is going to look, last season, 2023, Florida State had exactly 2 running backs rush, or any player, because the quarterback can count here, 2 players amass over 200 rushing yards. It was Trey Benson at 905, and it was Toafili at 463. And then the next closest was Rodney Hill at 190. How many players do you think rushed for over 200 yards this season for Florida State?
3.
You think it is Keziah? Yay or nay?
Yeah, I think Keziah will be one.
I think Roydell?
I think Roydell will be. Well, I should have said 4, shouldn't I?
See, that was my test, because Keziah was actually the tell.
Yeah, Keziah is the tell, isn't he? I like Keziah Holmes. It's just hard to imagine you have 4 guys rush for over 200 yards, though. You could with Toafili thrown in there. Obviously, that's I keep forgetting about him, and I shouldn't do that. Toafili, the Alabama kid. Yeah. I guess the real answer is, do I think Cam Davis is going to run for over 200 yards?
I knew you thought Cam Davis is going to run for over 200 yards. So that
do they trust him? Do they trust him? Does he block when he's in there? Can he block? Because then he'll get more reps. I just think he's a smart kid and he's a big son of a bitch. Maybe I'm wrong, but I'll still say 3.
Okay. It'll be fun to see. That's in spring camp. Like, Pass Pro comes in time. You don't have to be perfect at it in spring. Yeah. He should know about Pass Pro because he was a passer, so he should take pride in that.
It's important. Yeah.
But it's the burst. If he's got the burst, I mean, I think the discussion's over about whether he hits 200 yards this year.
I think he's got a chance to be a star. It's so rare that you have somebody come in year 1 at running back. And I mean, a lot of kids come in and contribute in year 1 at running back. That does happen. You can run the ball and you got the right body, you'll get some time. But it's rare to have a kid be a star. Like Maurice Clarett was a star his freshman year at Ohio State. Warwick Dunn was a star at Florida State year 1. And that is one of the craziest stories of all time because he was a corner. But you end up making, and Warwick Dunn becomes one of our greatest players. So I don't want to put that kind of heavy burden on a young man like that because it's rare. But if you're 5'11", 5'10", 225 pounds with that body and that balance, I think you can play right away. Yeah.
Yeah, it's probably so. I mean, Cam was a star his freshman year.
That's true. Cam Akers was a star.
Cam Akers ran for 1,000 yards. He ran.
Yeah. Yeah.
And those weren't heady times for Florida State.
Oh no, Cam is probably going to go down as one of the most underrated running backs in Florida State history because the poor guy had to run behind a shoddy ass offensive line, and that was not a good team. And he carried the day.
Yeah, he was very, very good. And then he got hurt in the pros. So it's like nobody knows. I got to tell you the story about Cam Akers. That's going to be me 20 years from now at the corner pocket. Like, no. You got to look at the numbers.
Well, remember the trucking he laid on the guy was it Boise State? And he did it against Miami as well.
Miami was a great one. And he actually, there was a 50-50 with Derwin James in his first spring game as an early enrollee.
Yeah.
And they were both full speed and it was neutral. And that's when I thought, what?
Yeah. Kid was thick. He had a ton of heart. Yeah, no doubt. Artisan Financial Strategies. Remember, go to KnollRetirement.com to learn more. Find out ways to combat rising healthcare costs, save money for your future. Really knowledgeable, really good people. Artisan Financial Strategies. That's KnollRetirement.com. Come back, wrap it up momentarily on the Jeff Cameron Show.
Excellence defines us, so we'll never let orthopedic pain and injury define you. TOC is a physician-led team of fellowship-trained specialists providing the highest level of orthopedic care in the region. With 12 centers of excellence and TOC Now urgent care clinics, our patients access affordable expert care fast. TOC, only experts. Schedule an appointment at teamtoc.com.
So everybody knows, Eddie, that you are a spectacular cook. Of course they know that. If they go into Bumpa's, the food is always good. I mean, everything on the menu.
Mm-hmm.
Everything at Gordo's is delicious. I always, of course, get the Bungalow Chungla, as I call it.
The Bungalow Chung, Jeff?
Is that what is the pork?
The pan con lechon, Jeff.
Okay, the pan con lechon. It's delicious. All of these things, all the items, everything you do, a master cook. But, sir, I would ask you, what is a skill that you possess that you're particularly proud of that nobody would know and that you could share with us here?
Growing hair, Jeff. Growing hair.
You're an asshole. Gordo's, bringing the flavor and flair of Cuban food to Tallahassee since 1996.
The Jeff Cameron Show is a production of the Warchant.com Multimedia Network. Check out Warchant.com today for the latest news inside Florida State athletics. That's Warchant.com.
Tell you about my friends at Social Kitchen. Time to rub some meat. Here we go. Catering, steaks, high-end meats now. This is what we're doing. Take dinner to the next level with this week's prepared meals is an option to look into maybe next week if you guys start your week that way. Put this in your brain now as we head into the weekend. Anytime we're heading into the weekends, I suggest you go see my friend Chef Chris over there and talk to him about the various ways to prepare your meat. But you can get prepared meals, and Chef Chris does those. And it's a seamless, hassle-free solution for dinner. And you can order Chef Trio, for example. All 3 meals is the best deal that you get. You got beef stroganoff over there, Bradley sausage and peppers, which doesn't suck, chicken and rice casserole. There's so many options. Creamy tomatoes soup to go with all of that. They're available for pickup or delivery. You can give them a call, 850-894-6261. You need to place those orders, 8 a.m. on a Monday and get your week set, get yourself set up. So I'm loving my relationship with Social Kitchen over here off of Cary Forest. If you're in the Clarn area, swing on in. You'll learn a lot. You'll see what I'm talking about the high-end meats. And it's always good to educate yourself on how to prepare meals properly or get the ones that are prepared for you. So good stuff. Just want to remind you of that.
Sausage and peppers. It's a big deal up here. The one thing is I'm finding that certain places, certain restaurants, they will cover it in gravy, marinara sauce. And, man, I think the sausage and the peppers is just about the roll on the sausage and the peppers. You don't have to cover it in any sauce whatsoever.
No, you don't. I'm bigger on sauces than you are, but I don't want marinara sauce on my peppers.
No, man. Yeah.
And I don't want marinara sauce on my sausage.
And on the bread. I'm sorry. I know people like to dip the bread, but if you're just going to coat it, and that's why I don't enjoy I would even get it with the cheese, like a chicken parm sandwich. Like, in theory, that's a good idea, but the sauce is what kills it. It's so heavy. Like, it's no good.
You know what you do? You go to Zaxby's and you get the Texas toast, Tom, and you dip it in the Zax sauce is what you do.
I don't know that I dip it in the Zax sauce because it already has enough delectable flavors on it.
I dip it in the Zax sauce is what I do.
And I get my Texas toast. I get it down on the table, and I sit my stool, and I enjoy it.
Zaxby's, there are 104 to choose from in Tallahassee, 19-plus years. As a Golden Chief booster is my man, Danny. Get you some Zaxby's this weekend. Stop dilly-dallying.
So I got to share a Rick Pitino story now that I've been up here. He was on the local news this week talking about revamping the St. John's program, and he's taken New York by storm, even though I think they're 13-7. But they're asking him about, how it's going with the program and his philosophies. And he said, the thing is, the most important thing that's happening right now is we've got a good NIL, and I don't think that's going anywhere. We've got a lot of St. John's alum who are tired of being down, and we've got a lot of people who want St. John's alum that are very interested. And
that are very interested.
I don't think that's going anywhere. And I'm like, okay,
doesn't that just remind you of a certain somebody referencing LA County? It's just you're like, really? You just hearing from strangers, are you out there, Rick, that are interested in St. John's NIL?
So Rick's giving money to people to give back to the program. I think is what's going on there in one facet. But I like he's like, the facilities We're doing good things, but we got a strong NIL.
Yeah.
I think what he's doing is he's making sure that all the boroughs that are watching the local news understand that if you got a kid who can play, we've got money for you.
We've got money for your kid. Yeah, that is so absolutely perfect. Well, it's a weekend of no football, and that hurts the soul a little bit, admittedly, as we get set. But I will think fondly of baseball instead, and for a lot of reasons. And I've enjoyed talking with you and everybody out there about Mike Martin. And I do want to express, as we're getting set to sign off one more time, my condolences to Carol and the rest of the Martin family. I got to know them over the years very well, and I always appreciated them, always appreciated who they were as people. And, that's funny, final thing here. I failed to bring this up yesterday. I went to Salem, Virginia for the ACC tournament with Matt Millar. We nearly lost our lives on the trip there as it was a deluge, and we were driving through the night. That's the trip, Tom, where I found a Dunkin' Donuts in the yellow pages, and we drove there, and it was burnt to the ground. I was furious. Anyhow, that trip, that tournament was held. It was it's a minor league baseball park in Salem, Virginia, and we were sitting there. I sat next to Mike Martin and watched an entire game between two other teams, and we just talked baseball.
Oh, man.
And I thought about that just now, and that was cool. And Carol came and sat down next to me, and we talked baseball, and then I would turn and talk to her about family, and then back to Mike, and good times. So rest in peace, Mike Martin. You guys have a great weekend, and we will talk to you again on Monday. Be well, everybody.